Hello and welcome back to today's video. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. This is going to be a recipe tutorial. What do I mean by that? This is going to be a how to make this adorable gnome with easy to follow instructions. He is a no sew except for the nose. The nose is the only thing you're sewing on him. Everything else is made as one piece or made onto the body. And for this, we're going to be using Dollar Tree yarns. So the yarn for this was under $8. And you're going to need 2 of the emerald, 1 of the oyster, 1 of the crimson, and 1 of the white in the Premier Just Chenille. And you're going to need 1 of the Premier Just Teddy in white for his beard. Other supplies needed is obviously polyfill. You can use safety eyes if you want to. I use 24mm on mine, but you can crochet eyes on it as well. You're going to need some beads. I use wooden beads. I think I actually got them at the Dollar Tree. And some pony beads that I did get at the Dollar Tree. And some bells that I did get at the Dollar Tree. And that's how I decorated his beard. And then you're going to need a pom-pom maker. Or you can use cardboard. I've seen people use cardboard to make pom-poms. And I'll post a link of that down below so you can use that if you want. But we do need to talk about safety real fast. This is not going to be something that you're going to want to give a small child. The safety eyes can pop out, or a pet really. They're just not that safe. I don't trust them. Also, you have the beads and the bells. Don't really trust those. And this yarn sheds. It sheds a lot. I have a love-hate relationship with Chenille. This is my first time really ever using it besides making a tree that I knitted a long time ago. You can blast the tips with a cigarette lighter, but like this pom-pom, that would be almost impossible. So my gnome is just going to sit around in my shed, and I'm okay with that. I think he's super cute. It was super fun to make, and I hope you join along in making this with me. Let's go get started. If you do make this gnome, please share a photo of it with me on my community tab, or if you've made any pattern that I've ever linked on my channel or talked about on my channel, I would love to see those. And you can do that by the mobile app. If you go to my YouTube channel on your phone, then there is a bar that says home, videos, lives, playlists, and there should be one that says community. That is where you, the community, can post a picture and share your makes with me. So please, please do that. I would love to see them. And if you share it on your channel, if you have a channel, please tag me in the video. That would be also great. He is very easy to make. We're going to start off by starting at the bottom, and then we're going to work our way up. Then we're going to make his brim, his beard, and his nose, and we'll attach his nose at the end. I don't know if I mentioned that you're going to need a darning needle, but you're going to need a darning needle for this. And my favorite kind of darning needles are the kind that have the bent tip. This one is from Hiya, but they just work great for getting in between stitches and weaving in those ends. However, almost all of the ends on this, we're going to weave in as we go, and I talk about how to do that in this video. But please remember, this is just a recipe. I am not a tutorial maker and I am not a pattern writer. So there may be a discrepancy in stitch count. There shouldn't be. I was pretty focused on trying to keep all the notes I can. And as I go through the video, you will see the directions on the screen as well as hearing them verbally. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you let me know if you decide to make this gnome, and definitely share it with me on the tab. We're going to start with a slip knot. This is not going to be a professional tutorial. If you would like a professional tutorial, this is probably not the video to watch. One day I will get there, but right now I've just had a lot of stress going on, so we're just gonna have fun and wing it because we're just having holiday cheer over here. So we're going to chain X amount of stitches. I'll let you know that answer in a second. We're going to do 30. We're going to go 30 stitches. We're going to pretend like that's 30 stitches. I lost count, but we're going to say it is. I don't know if you've ever listened to Stephen West, but he's a knitter and he writes a bunch of really amazing patterns. His philosophy is like fake it until you make it. So if we're short a stitch, it's going to be fine. If we're over a stitch, that's also going to be fine. But we're going to shoot for 30 stitches for our chain. And then we're going to chain one more. And we are going to yarn over. We're going to be utilizing half double crochet. So we're going to try to find that next stitch that's close to the one that we're in. So we're just going to half double crochet. We're going to do that all the way down, so you should have 30 half double crochet. Like right now, I noticed that my chain is trying to twist. So just be mindful of that. Like, you're not going to really notice it if you're using this kind of chenille yarn. But if you're using a regular worsted weight yarn, or bulky or whatever, then you'll definitely notice it. Also, if you're not using this exact yarn, your mileage may vary on the yarn, because our yardage used in a project varies by crafter because of our tension, and it also varies because of the hook size we use and the yarn choices that we make. Okay, so I'm just going to roughly count and see if I have 30. I have 29. Somehow I lost a stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick another one right down here. And see, there's my 30. Okay, so now we're not going to turn our work. We're going to turn it to 90 degrees so that we are going to be working on this side over here. But we're going to put in 2 half double crochets right here in the end. So we have like a little bit of a turn. And then we're going to do 30 and down. So if you miss one, it's not a big deal. Just squeeze it in there somewhere, and so that you have those first 2 there and then 30 down the side. And then I'll meet you back at the end. So we just finished our 30 stitches, and so your piece should look something just like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take, I got a couple of these stitch markers, these little cute claspy kind, and we are going to use those in a minute. I have 3 of them because I think that's what I'm going to need, but we'll see. And then we're going to go ahead and turn our work 90 degrees. We're not turning our work like this and working down the back. We're going to be working on this edge right next to that last stitch. But before we do that, I'm going to use one of these kind of markers, which I like to call progress keepers. And we're going to mark this side so we know that this is our starting side in case we set this down and possibly forget. And we're going to go ahead and make 2 turning half double crochets basically right here. And then we're going to start our double crochets down this side as well. So since we made those 2 on this side, we should have 31 basically on one side. So when we get to this end, I will meet you again, and then we will proceed after that. Okay, so we just completed our 31 stitches along our front side. I'm going to go ahead and move up my stitch marker just so I can make it more clear that this is my first row here. When you make your crochet stitches, I am not trying to get in the very top 2 stitches. I mean, ideally that's what you want, but I'm just trying to basically stab it and get it somewhere in between there. It's really hard to see with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of the half double crochets on this side, and I'm going to put a stitch marker right here, and that's just going to let me know that this is the end of this row. We're going to put 2 of them down here on this one. So let me move that over to that end one, and then we're going to put 2 over on this one to give us a nice round bottom. And so now we're going to crochet 31 stitches until we get to the end, and I will meet you over there. Just finished my 31 stitches and my piece looks like this. It's roughly whatever that size is. And what we're going to do now is we're going to round off the same way. We're going to do 2 stitches in this next stitch and then mark the end stitch and then 2 stitches and then we're going to stop for a moment. So let's go ahead and do that. So currently your project should look something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your stitch count does not have to be perfect. I'm telling you, don't let it bother you. This is no stressing kind of crafting. We're going to work in the back loop only as much as possible. You can kind of see it in this yarn. We're going to really try to hit just the back loops, but we're going to half double crochet around. You can actually take out your stitch markers at this point and just use one if you would like to try to keep up where that first stitch is, because that's where your row technically is going to begin. But marking that side is also just going to kind of help you know where the front is, and so you can just kind of stop somewhere at that if need be. So you can see we're starting to form a little lip here with our half double crochet in the back loop. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying my best just to get one strand in the back of it. Doing this in this yarn is not the easiest, I'm going to say, but it does not have to be perfect. It's not going to really show that much, so as long as you're getting somewhere around there, then you're going to be fine. Maybe that's in my row. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to just, since it is back loop on the rest row, I'm just going to slip stitch that to the beginning. So you should have like a little boat forming, you can see here. And now we are going to go ahead and secure this end before we go any further. So I'm going to pull out that. And I'm just going to, you can just use your crochet hook or you can use a darning needle, whatever you want. Just going to pull it through a few stitches. So now we're going to crochet for 14 rounds, just doing the half double crochet each time. And this is what this is going to look like. What I'm doing is I'm just leaving this marker right here, and that's my beginning of my round. Really, it's not a row. So as I get there, I just remove it, I do my half double crochet, and I just put it on that stitch, the beginning stitch of the row, and then I just am working around. I do like these. I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this one, they're kind of the same. They're just a lobster claw stitch marker, and I like to mark the beginning of my work. And I also like to call them progress keepers because I like to mark where I am, that current sitting where I'm working on this project, so that way I can see how much I'm getting done each time that I sit down to work on it. So that's just how I utilize my stitch markers. Your piece should be looking like this. And we're just going to continue on for however many however many rounds I have showing on the screen. Right? This is what we have so far. You should have about 14 rounds and about 66 stitches. You can see where we did that back loop right there. So you just want to count up and make sure you have about 14 of these. You can see where the little rows are clearly defined. And roughly 66 stitches. If not, it's not a big deal. Don't stress about it. We're going to move on. You'll be fine. Especially in this yarn because you're not going to be able to see anything. You should wind up somewhere here on the side. If you need to half double crochet a couple stitches to get you over here, that's fine. Again, no one's going to know. I think I had to half double crochet 2 to get here. You just kind of want to have it's where your last stitch is kind of right on the edge of this side. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a decrease. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to get just through the first loop on the first stitch. And then we're going to stick that hook in to the front loop on the second stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 so that you have 3 loops on your crochet hook. Yarn over and pull through 3 again. And that is a half double crochet invisible decrease. So I'm going to mark that stitch so I know. So So now we're going to half double crochet 31 stitches, and I will meet you at the end of that. So we just completed our 31 half double crochet along the front, and now we're going to complete our second decrease of this round. One thing that I have noticed for me working with this yarn is sometimes if it's darker, it's hard to see once you make that decrease where that next stitch is. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the stitch that I'm going to be starting on when I get done with my decrease, and that way I know it's right there. So looking, I have these 2 stitches right here to decrease, so I'm going to yarn over, put my hook through the front loop on the first stitch, put my hook through the first loop on the second stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 3. So now, counting this stitch you just marked, you should have 31 stitches to half double crochet across. So continuing on with half double crochets, half double crochet 31 stitches until you get to the stitch right before your beginning of the round stitch marker. So we've got a decrease on each side, and there's about 31 stitches in between the two. So 31 and 31 is 62, 63, 64. So now we're going to do another row of decreases, and then we're going to break off our color A, and we're going to start working with our color B. In my instance, the color B is this Oyster color, same Premier, just chenille yarn from Dollar Tree for $1.25. Don't forget to mark that first half double crochet decrease so you don't lose it in case you need to rip back or anything. Again, we're not going for perfection here because you can't even see perfection with this material. If you were using a regular worsted weight yarn, and then you can see a lot more, but with this chenille, that's one of the beauties of it. However, it's also the downfall of it because you can barely see your stitches. Maybe I'm just not used to using it. I don't know. Maybe I'll start to love it over time. I don't know. But I do have some knitting projects planned with some of this. So I need to figure out how much I really love it and how much I really hate it. Because right now I'm just on the fence. And sometimes I'm getting the 2 loops. Sometimes I'm winding up getting 3 loops. I just don't care. I'm just crocheting, beat bopping along till I get to my next decrease. Because of the way this is going to be made, you're not going to see a jog. So a jog is if there's a difference in height and color. You can do jogless crochet in the round, so it looks like it's perfectly around. It involves doing rows. But since I knew from the beginning of designing this that there's not going to be a visible jog, we're not going to worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an easy crochet change color. We're going to yarn over and with the original color green, and we're going to go in that last stitch, number 30, and we're going to pull up a loop. Now we're going to take our new yarn. Usually we would yarn over and pull all the way through 3 loops with the main color, the first color, but this time we're going to yarn over with our new color, and we're going to pull it through all 3. I went ahead and cut my green yarn, so I'm completely done with that one, and I'm going to take the tail of the green yarn and the tail of this new yarn. I'm going to put them under the working yarn and then back around, and that's just going to kind of help lock it in place while we crochet. So I'm just going to slide it over like that, and now we're going to do another decrease round. So right here in this first stitch, we're going to yarn over with the new color, grab that first front loop, and then we're going to swing our hook around and grab the front loop on the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through the 2 green loops. And then now we have 3 white loops we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So we're going to mark this first stitch. So you see where we changed the color and then we did an immediate decrease right there. So now we're going to half double crochet 29 stitches across, and then I will meet you back on this side. 8, 9, and now we have completed our first row in color B. So you should have 29 stitches on each side and then 2 on the ends, and that should give you 60 stitches. So here I was saying to leave these little stitch markers in here, but we're not going to do that. You're just going to crochet in the round for about 12 to 13 rounds and then end on one side, and then we're going to talk about what to do next. Okay, so I've been crocheting around. You can see where I started the round right here with this oyster color, and I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I just completed 12 rounds. I'm going to stop pretty close to where I started, and then we're just going to break off our yarn, or cut off your yarn of oyster. I'm going to leave a long enough tail so I can seam that in, and then I'm just going to slip stitch that to the next stitch and pull it through. So that makes it a little bit less of a step there. So I've already secured my little end from my oyster, so I'm starting over fresh. I'm going to look at the side of my work, and I'm going to follow. You can see where the jog is here. I'm just going to kind of follow up, and I'm going to do a half double standing crochet on my last stitch, not on where I slip stitch, but on that very last stitch. I'm going to mark it so I don't forget where that is. I'm going to get my yarn, my third yarn, my crimson, make a slip knot, and I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to hold both of those loops with my finger and put it through that loop, and then pull through, yarn over, and then pull through all 3 loops, and that's my first half double standing crochet. So you should still have a total of 60 stitches, so do 60 half double crochet all the way around until we get back to this first stitch. This will be number 58 half double crochet, number 59 half double crochet. So you should have 60 half double crochet in the red color, and now we're going to do some decreases. We're going to start off doing a decrease on this very first stitch, and then we're going to mark it. So we're going to do a half double decrease, so yarn over, and you need to pull this so you get that first loop that's kind of sticking up, because that's a stitch. And then get the front loop on the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. And that is our first half double decrease. Now you can use this tail to tighten those stitches up if you want to. That's what I'm going to do. "28 stitches, and we're going to do a decrease over here. I went ahead and marked mine with stitch markers so I can easily identify it. We've already done the one decrease, so now when you do your next stitch, make sure you're not grabbing the one that you decreased. So do 28 stitches across, and then we're going to do a decrease. Six, 27, 28. Now we're going to do our half double decrease here, front loop, pull through 2, and pull through all 3, marking that stitch. And then we're going to do another 28 half double crochets along the back. We just completed one round of half double crochet in red, followed by one round of half double crochet decrease on the sides only, and now we are going to do one more round in just half double crochet, and then we're going to do a total of 4 decrease rows after that, and then we're going to come back here. You're only going to be decreasing on the sides, and each time you go a different row to do your decreases, the number of stitches in the middle of the decrease stitches should be decreasing by 1. So this is where we are, and I realized that I forgot to mention during the supply list to talk about eyeballs. So I'll make sure I put it in the intro. I was hesitant to include this as an option because I do not like safety eyeballs for any kid under 3 or pets. They do have warning labels on them and they're not safe. But for mine, I'm going to use it because it's for me, and so I'm not under 3. But where I'm going to place mine is I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in between this 5th and 6th row, I'm going to count in 9 stitches. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put 1 here. And then I'm going to count in 9 stitches on this side. And I'm going to put 1 there. And then I'm going to secure them before I move on. So currently you should have 50 stitches total on this row number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 50 stitches total. You have 24 on each side and then 1 on each side. So that's how this is kind of going to stay in that kind of thought process. Basically the one side stitch and the ones in between. So now what we're going to do is we are going to remove that stitch marker if you have one, and we're going to half double crochet in this first stitch because we're treating it like it's a pillar stitch basically. And then we are going to do a half double decrease. Then we're going to half double crochet 9 stitches. 1. Then we're going to do a center half double decrease, decreasing 2 stitches. And then now we're going to half double crochet 9 stitches again. Now if you're using stitch markers, you should have 2 stitches left before that side pillar marker, or the pillar stitches we're going to call it. So you want to do a half double decrease on those 2 stitches. This did a decrease of 6 stitches, and this brought us down to 44 stitches. Okay, round 9, we are going to decrease some more. I put my little stitch markers in so I can remember where to tell you to decrease because it's early and I'm trying to get done with this really before this month is out. So we're going to do a half double crochet in our first pillar stitch on this round, and then we're going to do a decrease. I'm going to move that. We're going to half double crochet 6, We're going to do a decrease over the next 2 stitches. A half double crochet in the middle, and then another decrease over the next 2 stitches. Followed by 6 half double crochet, followed by a decrease, a half double crochet on this side pillar stitch, a decrease, six half double crochets, a decrease, a half double, a decrease, 6 half doubles, and then a decrease. You should have roughly 36 stitches after that. We're going to basically repeat that row. So half double crochet, half double decrease, this time we're going to half double crochet 4, we're going to do a half double decrease, a half double, and then a half double decrease. Now we're going to do half double crochet 4, a half double decrease, a half double, a half double decrease, four half doubles, a half double decrease, a half double, a half double decrease, four half doubles, and then a half double decrease. So this would be a great time to go ahead and stuff your little guy. And you should have a total of 30 stitches. You're going to need, depends on how much you want to stuff him. I have a whole brand new bag of polyfill here. And I'm going to stuff him pretty good. Now, which is sad. Okay. So once you kind of get your little guy forming, you may have to stick your hand in there and kind of get some more towards his bottom area to really fill that in. I do believe there's an art to stuffing stuffies, and it just kind of comes with practice. That should be good enough right now. We're going to continue on. So you can stuff his head so it's as much of as his body. So as you're making this, you can just keep pushing that stuffing down a little bit. If you try to stuff it all the way right now, it's going to be kind of harder to close up because you're going to be fighting with that stuffing. And we are going to start off by doing a half double. Oops. Launching stitch markers everywhere. marking that stitch, followed by a decrease, followed by 2 half doubles, followed by a decrease, followed by a half double. Now I'm going to do another decrease, two half doubles, and then a decrease. Okay, we're going to do a half double, a decrease, two half doubles, a decrease, a half double, a decrease, two half doubles, and then one decrease. Now is where I would go ahead and stuff some more of our little guy's head. Okay, so now we are going to start off with a half double on our pillar. Marking that stitch. Decrease. A half double. Now we are going to do something different. We are going to do a central double decrease. That's what's called in knitting. I don't know what's called in crochet, but I think it's a central double decrease also. Signified with a CDD. So we're going to yarn over, and I'm going to go through the front of 3 loops. Pull through the first 3, yarn over, pull through the last 3. And that's going to decrease 2 stitches. Then I'm going to do a half double, and then a regular 2 stitch decrease. And we're going to do a half double again in that side stitch, and I'll show you that decrease again. Oop, sorry, I got the cord. We're going to do a half double first. I'm sorry, we just did our half double. We're going to do a decrease, a half double, the 3 stitch, so insert your hook in the first loop of the first stitch, the front loop on the second stitch, and the front loop on the third stitch, yarn over and pull through 3 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. 1 half double, and then 1 half double decrease. Okay, I'm going to stuff my guy some more. Where did my stuffing go? I'm going to do a half double again. That central decrease, so yarn over into the first loop on the first stitch, yarn into the first loop on the second loop stitch, and then front loop on the third stitch, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over and pull through the remaining 3. Yarn over and then do a half double. Remove that stitch marker. Half double. Half double. Oops. You should have 4 stitches left. We're going to do that 3 stitch decrease, or 2 stitch decrease, so yarn over, front loop on the first, front loop on the second, front loop on the third, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 3, and then 1 more half double. So you should have about 8 stitches left. You can just go ahead and stop, break your yarn, and pull through if you want to. I want to try to get one more rounded. I want to get as pointy as a tip as I possibly can. So what I'm going to do is do a half double, and then I'm going to do a center decrease where I do the 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through 3, yarn over and pull through 3, and then I'm going to do another half double, and then I'm going to yarn over and do the 3. But this one's going to be very, very tricky, so I'm going to use the hook part of my yarn and try to hook it, and then push it through. 1, 2, can I get it in there? I don't know. I kind of loosen those up. Go ahead and find that third. There it is. One, 2, 3. And then one last half double if I can get it. If not, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay. Alright, now I can break my yarn or cut my yarn. And I'm going to pull it through slowly. I'm going to burn that tip actually. Okay. Pull it through. And I'm going to squish him down. Work out his stuffing. I'm going to take off my stitch marker. And that's him thus far. Is you're going to get the rest of your oyster. Make sure your end is nice and fried so it doesn't peel on you. We're just going to set him aside. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make a slip knot. You want to leave a little bit so you can have something to sew in. And we're going to chain 3. You're going to yarn over, and in that first knot, they're going to make 6 half double crochet in that first chain. And now we are going to yarn over, and you're just going to try to find that first stitch. Your goal here is to have 12 half double crochet somewhere in your stitches if you can find them. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't even know where my stitches are. I'm just trying to get 12 double crochet somewhere in this thing. So we're going to do another round. So we're going to start off with 1 half double. You just want to try to find the stitch as much as possible. Two in the next stitch. 2 half doubles in the next stitch. 1, 2, 1 half double, 2 in the next stitch, 1 half double, 2 in the next, 1 half double, 2 in the next, 1 half double, 2 in the next, and 1 half double, and 2 in the next. If it's not perfect, you're not going to be able to tell. You're just trying to do it evenly increase around. And now we're going to cut off our yarn. burn that end. And I'm just going to slip stitch that, pulling it all the way through. And this is going to be my little guy's nose. So our next yarn we're going to use is our white chenille, and we're going to make the brim of our hat. I've learned just to burn this every time before I start. So we're going to make a slip stitch, and we're going to do some more half double crochets around. So you want to go ahead and yarn over and hold it with your finger. We're doing a half double standing around this row that's right below where the oyster meets the red. We're just going to go around, yarn over and pull through your two hooks, your two loops, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through all three. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, all three. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, all three. So as you get where your round started, it's going to get really close. Just kind of move it along so it goes back under and you have a whole row in between you. It's not going to really matter, but that's just where that join was, that jog. Just going to do this all the way around and then meet me right back here. Okay, so I just completed my last one. Now what we're going to do is you're going to want to slip stitch to that very first stitch. You can go ahead and pull that stitch tight and then kind of secure this end so you don't have to keep it coming undone. And then I'm just going to pull it through the stitch, pull it through this stitch, and then I'll pick that back up in a little bit and I'll finish making it. Half double crochet in that stitch and then do one more half double crochet. So that gives you 2 stitches. Now we're going to start the repeat. You're going to half double crochet 2, and then you're going to do 2 in 1 stitch to increase. Half double crochet 2, increase by 2. Half double crochet 2, increase by 2. And you're going to do that all the way around a total of 19 times. And then when you get to over here, you should end and you should have 2 stitches left. You're going to do half double crochet in both of those. And then that will complete your second row. So go finish that and then meet me right back here. Okay, now we're on round 3 of the white. I'm going to grab my tail. I'm going to lay it on top of my working yarn. I'm going to yarn over, and now we are going to half double crochet in every stitch around. So you get 80 half double crochets. This first stitch is right here on this first thing. So I'm just going to cram it in there somehow and grab, pull it through, and then yarn over. And then I'm going to mark that because that's my first stitch. And now we're just going to go around doing 80 half double crochets. When you get all 80 of those completed, meet me right back here. So now we're going to do a decrease row and get back to our amount of stitches that we had, and then we're going to attach it to the body. So yarn over, we're going to start off with a half double crochet just like we did a while ago. There, half double crochet, we're going to do one more half double crochet, and now we're going to start our repeat. So our repeat is 2 half doubles and then a decrease. 2 half doubles, and then a decrease. 2 half doubles, and then a decrease. We're going to do this all the way to the end, and then you should have 2 stitches left, and that would be your 2 half doubles. So meet me back over here when you get done with that. So we just completed our last half double crochet on this decrease round, and now we're going to basically slip stitch this hat to the body. And we're going to do that on this first row of red where it meets the oyster. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of line it up a little bit, and we're going to go into the first stitch like you're going to do a decrease in a way, and then you want to kind of pull your hook under that first stitch, grab your yarn, pull through, and then pull through one. We're actually like single crocheting into the body. Go in the next stitch of the white, go into the next red stitch, so you have both the loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both of them, pull through 2 hooks or 2 loops. Yarn or hook through the white, hook through the red, yarn over, pull through the red, pull through the white, yarn over, 3, 2. And we're just going to do this all the way apart. We're just going to do this all the way around, and it's going to help secure our hat to the body. So after you do that all the way around, come back and meet me here. So I just finished the last stitch of this, and we're going to just cut the yarn, pull through, and you can run that in throughout the end and just kind of tag it. And that kind of gives him this little 3D brim for his hat. So now what we're going to do, you can go and place your nose, but I'm going to wait on placing my nose. We're going to make the beard for our Santa gnome. So now this is where our teddy comes in, because our teddy is going to be our beard. And so what we're going to do with it is we're just going to take a lot of teddy, and we're going to cut a lot of strands. And the way I like to do that is just kind of wrap some around. You want to get it so it's kind of long. You want to have some extra length. And then you just want to cut it. It's going to be better if you can actually do multiples at once. So about 2 to 3 strands per stitch is what we're going to go with. You want to fold them over, put your hook under your stitch, pull them through, and then yarn over all of them and pull them through that loop. And then you can haircut your guy later. And then some of them you may just want to do like 2 or 3 through, but we're just going to give him a really nice fun beard. And so I'm going to do this all the way from one side all the way over, and then I just want to cut the beard so that it's an angle. You're going to have a little bit of loss, but this is like $1.25. And it looks really cute. I've done this on a past gnome before, and I just really loved how it turned out. So typically I just cut the ends off one side, and then you have all these hoops on the other. And just put your crochet hook through there. And you want to get up under that beige right above the green, so it looks like it's coming off his face and not his body. to make them a little bit shorter. I realize I'm making mine a little too long. So I'm going to shorten it up a little bit so I don't have that much yarn waste. And if you have some really short ones, that's fine too, because I like to put those kind of, so I have like some really short ones and a couple long ones. I like to do those in the middle. Nope. Under the stitch first, grab your yarns. So I'm going to complete this until I get all these top stitches done, and then depending on how thick I want the middle part, I may go up and do some right up under on this green row as well. Now as I'm doing this, I'm going to actually add in some bits of chenille. So I'm just going to make some loops and then hold a couple of the teddy with the chenille. And I'm going to go up under and get this green stitch in some places and use that just to add some thickness and some more texture. You just want to make sure you get all three of them when you grab them. And that's just going to add some fun. Make sure, we'll tend to these ends in a little bit. I'm not even cutting all my loops. I don't know if you notice. It's just going to add some thickness in your beard. And I think that's going to be fun. I'm probably going to do about every 4 stitches or so with the chenille in it underneath. Because I want to have a lot of variety in my beard. And I may even add some to the front of one. I'm going to go back in here. So again, I am just taking, folding over and measuring some, folding over, folding over, folding over. And then the last fold over, I snip at the bottom. Just grab the center of my loop. If there's a one that's hanging down, I just let it hang down because I can use it in a little bit. Pull through, make a loop, pull all through. And occasionally I'm adding some of the chenille at different lengths as well, just to add some more texture. So I'm about done with my beard trim. Yes, you could say. I'm looking for some bald spots, and I'm just making some thicker ones to kind of put in those. And just to give it some fluff, a thickness I like. I'm going to play around with the beard. So I'm going to find some of these that are longer, like these 3, and I'm just going to braid them. And then I'm just going to tie a little knot. Trim off those little edges. I'm going to do one under here, like on this big long knot. I'm just going to nip that. Then I'm going to use these 3 to braid. And then some of these smaller loops, I'm just going to cut them and make them so they're open, but not all my loops, just some. Just going to help. The chenille, I'm just hitting slightly with a lighter to kind of get those edges so they don't fray. Other fun things, you can use bells. I have some wooden beads. I'm going to use some wooden beads. You can even use these bigger pony beads. If you have some red and green, they'll look really cool. So I'm going to pull out some of these big green pony beads. And I'm going to get like this one right here. I'm going to do a pony bead, a big wood bead. You may have to use a darning needle or something to poke it through. Another pony bead. Uh-oh, there is like a fight for the female goose. And I'm just going to make a knot. There's a random male that showed up and he is not happy. So make you a knot so that way it stays. And then I'm going to secure that in with a little bit of trim. And a little blast of the lighter. Oh yeah, that's cute. Do I need more of those? So I got 2 more of those green. Get another square bead. Do one over here. Cinch that in so I can pull it through. Dangle it around. I'm going to grab one of these. I'm going to put a couple of bells. Small crochet hook works great for this. You can just stick your hook under the bell, grab your yarn, pull it through. I'm going to do this one up here. And then I'm just going to do it like that. I let it hang down a little bit. Let's do a bell right here. Let's do one somewhere over here. You can probably hear the Canadian geese because they're not happy that another male has landed at the pond. And I guess it's trying to get with one of the female babies or something. I don't even know. I think I don't like where that one's lowered, but it's fine. So we're just kind of adding some fun. Okay. There we go. I'm going to go through and cut some more of these. Maybe cut some of these longer ones. Now you can also take your chenille, use an H hook, make a slip stitch. And chain. I have 36 chains, cut it, pull it through, 37 chains. Then go to your underneath. Do that one the same way. I'm just going to do one side of it through the loop. And tighten and secure it, and then you have like these little thicker dreadlocks coming in. That's a good way to add some thickness if you need some thickness in some places. Only did 27 that time. I'm going to snip a long piece. I'm going to do one more single or chain and pull all the way through so it tightens, and I'm going to go over here underneath and I'm going to apply this one. So one side's thick and one side's thin basically. And pull that through, and that gives us like a thick piece and a thin piece. Trim up those ends. blast them. And then just kind of work around. Some of these longer pieces you can actually cut and then just stick them in there. So I'm going to cut this one. And I'm just going to stick it back over here. I feel like I need to be a little thicker right here in the middle. So I'm going to get some more of my teddy. I'm going to make a thicker one. Pull all of that through. And I'm going to snip these loops. So they're and you can kind of hang him like on the side, and you can see where your really long pieces are, and trim him up that way. You can have so that his green shows, or you can have it so it's not showing. I'm going to probably trim mine up in a way so that I see some of his green. So I'm just going to hang him up to the side and just kind of give him a good haircut, and then I can always vacuum up. Okay. I got some bells on him. I got my beads. He's got a beard. I'll have to get up all the pieces later. And now I'm ready to put his nose on. So you're going to need a darning needle for this, or you can just crochet it on. I want to find between his eyes. And go through and just kind of tack that on. It's also just going to help keep it from coming undone. I'm just going to go back in, and I'm just going to stick it all the way in there, come off somewhere, pull it, and then trim that piece. Let it go back in. You can kind of shape your little nose how you want. But I just want to go in the stitches. And stick that little nose on. If you find that your little burn tip is catching on everything, you can just snip it off right now and then reburn it. Sometimes it does that. I'm not making mine for children. I don't really recommend using this yarn for anybody that's really young that's going to be pulling all stuff. And if you're going to use the beads, you really need to be very careful on them, because if that yarn breaks and those children or that pet gets to those beads, it could really seriously harm them. But this one's just going to be more for decor, so he's fine with his beads and his nose and this skein yarn. And then I'm just going to pass this through a couple of stitches, pull it to the back. I love these bent tip needles. These are from Hiya. Pull it through a couple of stitches. Pull it through the back again. And then snip that, and it'll disappear. It's not going to come. It's not going to be enough that we have to worry about burning it. And now I'm going to address the top of his hat. So I have a pom-pom maker. So I'm going to use my pom-pom maker. I'm using my second largest one. And what you do for these is you hold them together like this. You take your yarn, you hold it in the middle, and you just wrap it. Then you just kind of work your way around onto the next one, wrapping. And I'm not even going to worry about this thing fraying because, again, I'm not going to be messing with it. So once I get to a decent point, I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm going to take it and I'm going to close it. And then these snap down over it. And then I'm going to take my scissors and run it along here. Now I'm going to take my end of my chenille, which I may actually use this. This may work a little bit better. You're going to push it through that little hole section and around. And tie that several times. Really tight. And then I'm going to pop this open, remove this. You may have some more pieces that are still around it you just need to cut. Just snip those. And then if you have any crazy little ends, snip them. Ooh. I'm going to have to take my little guy outside to give him a dusting. And now you have your pom-pom. So I'm going to get my darning needle, wherever that is under all this chaos. There it is. I'm going to weave in this red end. And then take my two pom-pom ends. Take one side and weave it through this little tip. I'm tying it. So it's on there. And then what I like to do is I'm going to take one end and just weave it around, go through the pom-pom, go back down, go through the red stitches, pulling it tight. more time, pushing it through. It just pops out and then it'll disappear. Do this side. That's why I wanted that tip, so you can really have something to go through with your pom-pom stitches. Okey-dokey. Now I have this one end to weave in, and then we are done besides cleanup. All I'm going to do for it is just kind of go in and catch some stitches and pull it through. And that's it. That is how we make this adorable little guy. Not so little guy. I haven't named him yet. I would love to hear your name suggestions down below. And maybe I'll put up a poll on what we should name my Christmas gnome. But you don't have to make yours a Christmas gnome. You can use different colors and make yours an everyday gnome. I just wanted him to be kind of a Christmas gnome because of the Christmas extravaganza with Kate and K Crochet. And I had a lot of fun making it. I have to say it was very stressful for me to make this tutorial though. I've learned a lot about myself and about making tutorials. I do want to do more going forward. So if you enjoyed my tutorial style, I hope you stick around by hitting that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy this, please hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!